Hey, I'm Harrison. When was the last time you had a deep, meaningful conversation with somebody? If it's been a while, don't worry, you're in the right place. This podcast is designed to open your mind to new perspectives and topics in the realms of health, personal growth, and, well, life. Welcome to the Let's Talk About Life podcast. Welcome back to another episode of the Let's Talk About Life podcast. This is another mini episode. These are going to be a little bit of me sharing facts and stuff, obviously, but I also want it to be just a little bit of me, not necessarily ranting. I don't know if that's a good word, but just sharing my thoughts and opinions on things and talking about life, because that's the whole point of it. So we're talking about rejection, and everybody knows what rejection is. We've all felt it. We've all been there, and it's a hard thing to deal with. It can happen in our personal lives. It can happen with our relationships. It can happen in, our careers, at work, at school, literally everywhere, and it's a very, very challenging thing to try to deal with, move forward, past it and overcome it. So I want to talk a little bit about it. And again, as I say in all of them, I'm no expert in any of this, but I just want to share my thoughts, some facts, and maybe give you a little bit of a new perspective. All right. I'm not going to give you here's a step-by-step how to fix something. That's not my job, and that's not what I'm here to do, but we'll just give you a little bit of a, rundown of some options, a little different perspective. So I really wanted to know why we're scared of rejection. Because a lot of us, I think, is that fear. There's an innate fear of being rejected, of being said, like somebody saying no, not getting what we're reaching out to do. And as we go through this, I want you to just be open and not just, when you say rejection, oftentimes people are like, oh, it's, going to ask somebody out and they say no. That is obviously rejection. But so is, asking somebody for something, trying to get a promotion in a job. Who knows? It could be anything, right? And anyway, what we found out is that on a basic level, we are creatures of community. Everything seems to always come back to our biological human brain and how, our instinct for survival and how we're, created like that. So on a basic level, we are creatures of community. If you think back, you look back, a long time ago, not even that long ago, there's still many, cultures and societies today doing it. We move in packs, right? Like even in big cities and stuff, we have groups of people that we want to be around, and we do things. We're a communal bunch, which is why this whole pandemic thing has been really challenging, right? That's a whole nother topic. I'm sorry, we won't dive into that. Let's leave that somewhere else. But the like earliest humans, we're talking though, like they migrated in packs, right? And hunted food together. It moved as it moved. There's lots of people that moved around, and that was how they operated, right? And the thing is that if the group's moving, you're gonna move with them. So when society was like birthed, humans lived in communities, and we lived in river valleys and farmed together and supported each other, and it was a very communal thing. It still is a communal thing. Life, it's so important. So right at the base, like bottom of everything, we just want to be included. That's what it comes down to, right? And the essence of survival on Earth for the early people, way long time ago, was based on a communal structure, and it still holds true to today. Like what I'm saying about being, if you strayed from the pack, or you were like, if you were rejected from the group, which happened, right? People be like, you're booted out of the tribe. See you later. You're on your own. That's hard to survive on your own. So you want to be accepted. And I think this all comes down to acceptance and being accepted, which is why we're scared of it, right? Because if we're feeling weak and vulnerable, it's because we're not meeting that set of standards that we should be. And if we're not meeting that set of standards, it's a bad thing, because then we're not going to be accepted. We're not going to be part of the group. We're going to have to survive on our own, which is, again, not entirely true now, like this day and age, right? But everything comes back to our brains have not changed. Like we still at our core, innately we are operating on that survival kind of level. So nowadays, which is a little different. Obviously, all of us aren't in tribes on the plains, but nowadays there's a bunch of environmental stressors that also can cause people to be rejected by someone else. So there's all kinds of things happening around us, more so than a long time ago, basically making that kind of rejection and the fear of rejection, it's amplified. So it's a tough time to be alive. We know that for many reasons. It's always been a tough time to be alive, throughout history, but things are tough right now. And but anyway, if this might be you, if you're thinking, oh wow, I really resonate with this. There is actually a phobia for everything, right? That's a whole nother. We should dive into that one day. A topic on phobia. It's interesting. There's a lot of them. Anyway, there's one called okay, I'm gonna say this anthropophobia. There we go. Don't want to say it wrong. Sorry if you have it. I apologize for butchering the name. Anthropophobia. There we are. And it's the extreme fear one will be judged and rejected at everything they do. That's a very extreme case, but I think everybody has a little bit of that, and we're basically just, like I said, we're wired to be accepted in groups. We want to belong. That's why, being excluded from things is so challenging, because we want that. If we lose that kind of stability, it causes fear in us, because it's like, well, I don't know what's happening. Like, why am I not a part of the group? I need to be a part of the group to survive, and that's not happening. Right? That's what happens. That's why we have this fear. Now, that doesn't really help you in your day-to-day life. I just wanted to give you a little background because it's very interesting. But to try to overcome it, the fear is hard. Like everything is hard. And I don't have the step-by-step process, but what's really interesting is that it's important to be empathetic and selfless and merciful. It's also equally important to think about and know your own self-worth. Now, there's a whole new can of worms here, folks. The self-worth thing is something we have talked about before. This is really what's at the root of our fear of rejection, right? Because people get focused on other people and what was happening around other people. And when you're focusing on what's happening around you and on other people, you're not able to really do what you want. So you might be going for something and then you be rejected because that's not what you're supposed to be doing or whatever. This can show up in many different ways. But the really interesting thing is that oftentimes when you may feel angry or almost like hatred, towards somebody or something when you are rejected, oftentimes that's not actually those emotions. It's usually shame. And you might be wondering, Harrison, what's the difference? Well, shame is an unpleasant, self-conscious emotion typically associated with a negative evaluation of the self. So here we are. You're not actually, now I'm not saying you aren't, but you might have some, anger towards the person or the situation, but a lot of it most likely comes from shame, which is you not having you're feeling bad about yourself. You wished, I wish they said yes. I wish that I got this. I wish whatever, and I'm not good enough. That self-worth thing. So the first thing to start with is to focus on yourself and trying to heal those thoughts and the way that you think about things like that. Because if you're thinking like that, even subconsciously, and a lot of that would be subconscious, right? We've talked about dealing with that kind of before, but subconsciously you go up, let's say you're asking for a promotion or you're talking to somebody or you're trying to get a job and you don't get it. And you're like, you feel like you've been rejected, from the job opportunity. Let's use that as an example. Okay. If you're in that situation and you are quote unquote rejected, they say no. All right. You're going to be mad at them, most likely, in some way, shape, or form, upset that they said no. That is completely normal and natural and understandable. But at a deeper level, it's interesting to think about why. What are you really feeling? Are you actually really, really mad at them? Or is that covering up the fact that you feel like you let yourself down? I'm not saying you did let yourself down, but do you feel like you did? That's where it takes a turn. Start to think of it that way, which is not something that I would have done. I would normally do, in that kind of situation. You're gonna push the blame on somebody else. And we do this a lot. And I don't want anybody to take offense to any of this or feel like I'm calling you out, because I think absolutely everybody does this. And it's normal to place blame on other people because we don't like feeling accountable or being held accountable for our actions, which is, understandable. If you're able to avoid something, it's easier, but not in the long run, right? We know that, not in the long run. So if you're avoiding those emotions by being angry at somebody, I'm mad that they said no, the company said no, this person said no, whatever. It's covering up the fact that you are disappointed with yourself for maybe not doing enough to get that role, or anything in that kind of realm of life. Now, the other side of it could be that you may not be acknowledging that that's not what you need. Maybe that job, it was supposed to say, well, obviously you were supposed to be told no because everything happens for a reason. But maybe you need to put your focus on and going, like, saying, hey, this is a learning opportunity. I wasn't supposed to get that, and I thought I was. I thought I was supposed to get that job. I thought it was meant for me, but it wasn't. Why? And a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about, specifically in these little mini episodes here, seems to come down to really looking within. Like, you need to analyze the how you're feeling and why you're feeling that way. That's what it is. Because I think we're often very, passive, right? Passive and not actively thinking about what's happening, just letting things happen. It's that subconscious mind that just lets things happen. But consciously, you need to think about, why am I feeling like this? Why am I upset that I'm getting rejected? And don't be mad at yourself for being upset, because that's just going to perpetuate the problem. But think about, it's okay, to feel this way, but why am I feeling this way? And most likely it comes down to shame, which is what I already talked about, right? And shame really is a strange emotion because it's usually masked by other emotions, like I said, which would be irritability, resentment, and wrath, depending on, the person and that kind of situation, and anger and that kind of stuff, right? So the key is to recognize it for what it is actually. Don't let it hang over you as something else. Because I think the key to success and happiness, not to get all philosophical, and there isn't always one answer, right? But the key to it is taking things as they are and like recognizing things as they are. Not lying to yourself or to other people, honesty, right? And communication, which can happen even internally, like that. What am I honestly feeling in this situation? Now, if you actually feel like you don't have any of that shame and you're just upset at the person or the situation or whatever, then that is okay. And you try to reframe it, because I'm sure deep down it's some way, shape, or form, based on our biology and the past and the way we are kind of programmed, you probably feel a little disappointed in yourself for maybe not being better or doing better or whatever. But I think the big thing is to remember that life's a learning opportunity. Every situation, every experience, every yes, every no, anything is a learning opportunity. And if you don't look at it that way, then you can get caught with these emotions, like these negative emotions we're talking about, that kind of hang over you, and then you dwell on them, and then you feel gross, and then, depression and anxiety can set in, which will affect your health. And this is just the big spiral of things. So if you can address things at the root of the problem, root of the situation, and be honest with yourself and address it, and again, approach yourself and your thoughts and the situations in your life with love and kindness and grace, then you can prevent all those things from happening down the road. And you don't have to go backward, and work backward. So that's a little bit of a tangent. I apologize, but this is really quite peculiar, that we generally are not upset at the other person for saying no. We're upset at ourselves without really acknowledging it. Now, if I've listened to all of this and you're going, Harrison, I know that's what I feel every time. I know that it's me feeling shame or whatever. Then that's actually a good thing, because you already got that step. You have acknowledged what it actually is. Now, we've talked about previously on like the first episode, way a long time ago, and other episodes since then, about building self-confidence and self-worth and boosting your self-esteem and things like that. But a lot of that starts with your self-talk and making a choice to wanna be better. Do you know what I mean? And obviously when I say something like that, it can be taken the wrong way, like, oh, just like that, something's going to change. No. But when you're aware and you're consciously aware of things, it trickles down into your subconscious and you will start to change things. There's many different ways to do it. But the big thing is recognizing it and then having that want, that will, that kind of push to do it, right? And since we're talking about rejection, the bottom line for all of this is that you just kind of need to face it and move forward. Like we talked about before, it's that kind of letting go and moving on. Because if you really, really dwell on something, it doesn't matter what it is, it's not going to be good. You can't really dwell on something for a super long period of time without it taking a toll on you in some way or another, right? So if it's happened, acknowledge it, move forward, learn from it. It's obviously going to hurt your confidence no matter what the situation is, but you need to accept it and move on because it's the healthiest thing you can do. Because you can't change the past. And we know that. People get hung up over rejections, like breakups or people that have lost jobs or rejected from jobs or whatever. But there's so many opportunities in life and so much life to live. And if you focus on those negative things, you're not going to allow, you're not going to open up to the universe and allow for those things to come towards you. It's all about abundance in that sense. That if you're just focusing on this one thing and you're not saying, hey, I've moved on, I'm ready for new things, those new things aren't going to come to you, right? Those new things aren't going to come to you if you aren't ready, if you haven't said, hey, I'm ready for them to come to me. Which only way you can do that is by accepting it, maybe analyzing it, learning from it, and then moving on. Because that's the only way you're going to get new opportunities and possibilities to come into your life. And the other thing I wanted to say about all of this is that I've said before, every situation is a learning opportunity. And I really, really, if you can take one thing away from this episode and this podcast, honestly, in general, is that any situation is a learning opportunity. Absolutely any situation, good or bad, whatever. The thing about people are scared about no, being told no, and that fear of rejection is a very big thing. I think that we should try to encourage each other to be excited about the no's, which sounds weird and backwards. But if you're excited about the no, it means that, okay, they said no, but I can learn from this. And that gets me closer to a yes. It's not focus on the bad no. Oh, I didn't get the no. And then I tried one, somebody said no, that's it, no more, done. If you view every no that you get in your life as a learning opportunity, a stepping stone, one step closer to that yes, that's a whole new ball game, right? It totally changes your perspective. And then you're excited to get the no's. Not necessarily excited. Maybe that's the wrong word because it's not great. It doesn't feel good to get the no's. But if you look at it as I did all this work and then they said no and I was rejected and whatever. Oh yeah, but look at all of the things you learned up to that point. And now dealing with this situation, look what you're learning. Go through the situation, talk through it with somebody, talk to it with yourself, write about it, meditate on it, talk to the universe about it, talk to God, whatever your thing is. And then move forward and take all that knowledge you learned from this situation and apply it to another thing. And then somebody might say no to that thing, but you may not have had that opportunity if you didn't go through the first no. And then you just keep moving forward, right? And eventually those things will start to come. And if you stay in a situation where you're just like, oh, things never happen and I'm never going to get to where I want to go and everybody just hates me and I'm saying no, then you're doing yourself a disservice. Right? Everybody is rejected at some point in their life. We've all dealt with it. I think the thing that separates the people that are going to get more out of life, I don't want to say successful because I don't think that's the right word to use for any of this, but the people that are going to really maybe enjoy life more, get more out of it, live life more to the fullest, are going to be the people that accept the no's, the rejection, It might hurt the same amount as somebody else, but if you accept that and you just go, okay, this is supposed to happen. Why did this happen? Let's take it. Let's run with it. Where can we take this to improve my life further? Why am I in this situation? And I think if you take that approach to the rejection, your life can drastically change. I really do. I really do think that's it. So I don't think there's a one right answer to dealing, with being rejected. And that's not necessarily what I'm talking about here. But if we know why, we're scared of it based on our, instincts and wanting to be a part of a community, start by working, on yourself, looking within and really getting that self-confidence and everything so you can approach those situations and go, hey, they said no, but it's all right. I'm excited about it because you know what that means? There's another opportunity coming my way. And if you can make that switch, trust me, you are well on your way to an incredible life. And I have nowhere near mastered that. So I don't want anybody getting the wrong idea. But it is definitely, I think, the way to approach those kinds of situations. So I hope that helps you out in some way, shape, or form. And again, if you can take one thing away from this, it's just that approaching any situation in life, whether good things too, why did I got this amazing thing? What happened to get me there so I can apply it in the future? Good or bad, those things, make things better. We're always working towards improving ourselves, and that's why you're here. So thank you for tuning into this episode. I'm really enjoying these little mini episodes and hanging out with you guys. And until next time, keep loving life, and we'll see you soon. For more information about this episode or the show itself, head on over to harrisonkingofficial.com. There you'll be able to find the show notes, transcriptions, and videos for every episode. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at Let's Talk About Life Pod. Now get out there and have a deep, meaningful conversation in your own life. We'll chat with you next time.